Hello World Economic News people, Tuesday, and we'll start with 4 calculated risk charts. What he's done with these, he's put the previous peak at the top of the chart, so when you get back up to the top of the chart, that means you've reached your previous peak. It's an interesting way of presenting information. It works for me. So the first one is real domestic product, gross domestic product, and it's back up to where it was in America at the start of the recession. Obviously, government money has flooded in to make it so. The next is industrial production, and in the United States, industrial production is doing surprisingly well and is being shouted from the highest rooftops that it's doing really very well. But as you can see, it's only at 94% of where it was. It's 6% shy of where it was before the recession. Next, we have real personal income. Interestingly, less transfer payments, so more reality there, and you can see it's well shy. It's down at 95.5. It's 5.5% down on where it was before the recession kicked in. And this one, employment, is the equivalent of the Joker chart, and you can see there how far it has got to go to get back to where it came from, the previous peak before the recession. All of this tells me that the economy is in bad shape, but it is in woefully dreadful shape if you back out the government spending based on funny money. Back out the funny money government spending, and the American economy is in dreadful shape. From a different source, we have food stamps, and you can see that in the United States now 43.5 million people are on food stamps. Same source, we have Social Security by numbers. We have disabled, survivors, retired workers, and a total there in blue. 25 million on Social Security in 1970, up to 55 million now. I have nothing to say. St. Louis Fed, this is Chinese exports into the United States and industrial, durable goods manufactured in the United States going out. And you can see that that has gone down and down since 2000, but has leveled off since the end of the recession, the durable goods manufacturing exports, and is now starting to look up, but obviously from a much lower level than where it came from. Can that blue line continue to keep going up? Can the United States continue to be flooded with Chinese goods? This chart is per capita spending on healthcare, and as you can see, the United States is ludicrously more expensive than anywhere else in the world. And no, the American healthcare system is not the best in the world. This is GDP growth going back to 1968, comparing GDP growth of United States and Canada. And as you can see, where the United States goes, Canada goes. Brother and sister, arm in arm. Over in Europe, calorie counter for the German diet. There's some interesting information on there, so you might want to pause, but I'll just pull out the first of the information there highlighted. Corporate income tax rates. In Belgium, 34% corporate income tax rate. Germany 30%, Ireland 12.5%. That is a political sticky problem. Next, in the Irish Economy blog, an article by Carl Whelan, IMF projections show EU IMF funding not big enough. You can imagine what that is. No, that they haven't got enough money. So by my calculations, we don't have the 18.7 billion euro that the IMF figures imply are required to get us through till 2013. They need more money, more bailout, and those are even on the positive optimistic projections, they need more money in Ireland. And a wonderful comment on this article down below by an obsessive maths freak. Are you ready? I won't do the accent because that'd ruin it. Ireland is a broken home. Government officials, commentators, etc., led by the Minister for Finance, play the part of the demented, naive, still hopeful mother, ceaselessly reassuring the children, the Irish public, that everything will be okay and things will get better, that their father, the banking sector, is not, in fact, the drunkard, liar and bankrupt he appears to be, that the mean people calling at the door with threats don't mean it, and that things will get better once Daddy gets his feet back on the ground. And at first the children believe her, but as the food grows scarcer and the house gets colder and his absences get longer and her tears come quicker, their questions come rarer, and finally they know that she wasn't telling the truth, and they became delinquent, keeping up appearances at home for mother's sake, but now finding solace in what mischief they could find outside the home, forgetting the entreaties she made of them. She'll leave him, they know. The nights he spends away shows he knows it too. She lightly knows it herself, but she clings to a desperate thread. In vain. The lies have knotted up, and there's a coldness now. It's a divorce then. The sooner the better. The house will go, but he will keep his debts, and the visitors. She'll keep the children and have a few shillings to spend on them at the weekend. It's nicely done. He finishes with more down to earth. The Irish state will default. The only question is when. This 18 billion euro only puts an upper time limit on the inevitable write-off of the banking debts. It has not been dealt with because the state, its officials and the general public have no intention of dealing with it or any more of these funding issues until the banking crisis is definitively and decisively resolved. Only then will the country move on. I think it's wonderful that people can just get on a blog site and make such a wonderful comment. Financial Times, UK 10-year gilt yield rises to 9-month high. Interest rates on UK bonds are going up, and if that continues it will affect the interest paid on mortgages, and most people in the UK have variable rate mortgages, so they will be affected. China, the Asian Minsky investment model. It's not a bad little article. It finishes like this, talking about Asia. This Asian model worked brilliantly in the growth phase, but when the economies reached middle income and become mature, continuation of the model eventually led to problems. Firstly, there is always the danger that if net exports increased too much and net bank lending also increased, the growth in domestic liquidity would lead to asset bubbles. Secondly, the household sector begins to demand higher wages and later higher consumption as the population reaches maturity or begins to age. Thirdly, excessive investments inevitably led to inefficiencies with higher and higher capital output ratios to boost falling productivity. If you read the article, it does show quite clearly that emerging economies can be very, very dynamic for 2 or even 3 decades, but always come to a crunch moment, and it's only a matter of time. So with the emerging markets reaching those crunch moments and the old economies reaching their own crunch moments, it's tricky times ahead for the entire world economy. Hey, That's what we're here for. Have a good one. Bye.